What's going on, guys, and welcome to my 2023 United States Grand Prix driver tier list. Yes, we are really late with this one once again, just really haven't had the time and have been focusing more on the F123 video, so this is literally getting recorded and going out on the Saturday of the Mexico City Grand Prix, so we're pretty much into the next race weekend, but I'm getting this out. To be honest, these videos don't seem to get that many views now compared to the F123 videos, which have been doing a little bit better lately, actually. And I've just been a bit more kind of stretched for time, so I've been focusing more on those. So these kind of just happen when they can. I don't even know if I'm going to really carry on these into next year, but we're going to at least finish off this season of these driver tier lists. But today we're looking at the United States Grand Prix, mainly the race itself. The sprint does somewhat come into effect, but it is more so for the actual race itself. So let's get started. First of all, I haven't put these. Well, actually, no, it doesn't really matter, does it? Because, well, I guess we get rid of De Vries, put him down there. I really need to. I don't think I'm going to bother updating this now. I might as well just leave it until next year and make a new one for next year, because we don't need Lawson anymore. We don't need De Vries. Ricardo can go ahead of Russell, and then that puts them in alphabetical order. So let's get started with Alexander Albon. He ended up finishing 9th in the race, so some good points for Williams. And yeah, that's another good performance. I've got to go for an A for Albon. Yeah, to be honest, wasn't quite as quick as... do I go A, actually, now that I think about it? Because, you had Alonso, Piastri, and Ocon all DNFing, and then Hamilton and Leclerc got disqualified. So I think he did get a penalty. Yeah, he did end up getting a penalty, and only just finished just over a second ahead of Sargent, actually. So I'm going to go B, actually. I'm going to go for a B for Albon. Great to score 2 points for the Williams, but yeah, he did get a penalty, and he did only really finish that high because of a lot of other drivers ahead of him having issues or getting disqualified. So still good to get 2 points for Williams, but he wasn't the only driver, not the only Williams driver to get points this weekend, but we'll get onto Logan Sargent in a bit. Fernando Alonso, yeah, DNF'd, did not finish the race, had an issue with his car. Was looking like a pretty terrible weekend for Aston Martin at first, with both cars getting knocked out in Q1. Alonso then went back to the older spec car because they changed the floor for this weekend. Didn't seem to really work out, although in the race, Stroll with the new floor seemed to make up some more positions. I think still finished outside of the points because he got... Oh, no, he finished 7th. But yeah, Alonso was looking to score some pretty decent points and then had a mechanical issue. So I'm going to give him an A because I think that car was just dreadful this weekend. Maybe with that floor. Yeah, qualifying didn't go well, but I think he did score maybe a couple of points or a point or so in the sprint. I can't quite remember. Might have been just out of the points. But was looking good to score some decent points in the race from way back in the pit lane, I'm pretty sure. And then, yeah, had a mechanical failure, so didn't finish. So I'm going to go for an A for Alonso. Valtteri Bottas finished P12, but yeah, not a lot of people. Only had 15 drivers finish in the end when you get rid of Hamilton and Leclerc. Yeah, I don't really have much to say about Alfa Romeo. There wasn't really anything going on again. It might have been a bad weekend for him, but I think I'm just gonna have to go C because I don't remember anything. It also doesn't help that I'm doing this like a week after the race happened, so yeah, not the freshest in my memory for this one. So my rankings might be a little bit off. I'm literally just going off the race results. So yeah, not just an Alfa Romeo weekend really. Pierre Gasly finished P6. Actually, a really good weekend for Gasly. I think Ocon was ahead of him before they had a mechanical failure, or at least they were right on track with each other. But still, very good weekend. I'm going to give Gasly an A. I think scoring a P6 is very good. Yes, Hamilton and Leclerc were ahead, but he was, I believe, catching Leclerc, or was very close to Leclerc anyway. And yeah, looked pretty good this weekend in the Alpine. Lewis Hamilton finished P2, well, technically finished P2, only DNF'd because of the disqualification. I can't really put that against him. I don't think he really put a foot wrong all weekend. Other than that, had a great race, and yeah, that wasn't his fault. So I'm going to give Hamilton an S. I think it was actually a very good performance, a good bounce back from the disappointment that was Qatar, crashing into his teammate at the start. And yeah, was honestly, given another lap or two, was on course to win that race and had the pace. Had it not been for Mercedes, maybe not quite doing the preferential strategy, but very difficult to overcome Max in the Red Bull. But I think Lewis did as much as he could do, and it's really unfortunate that he got that disqualification. Kevin Magnussen, Nico Hulkenberg even finished P11, couple of seconds behind Sargent. It's Haas C. Once again, I seem to just be putting Haas in C at the moment, unless they pull out a worldie and score points, which hasn't happened for quite a while, or one of them has a terrible weekend and gets below a C. Otherwise, it's just a C, because they're pretty much nowhere. They had upgrades. They were looking promising. Hulkenberg, I think, went quickest at one point in Q1. We were thinking, here we go, what's Haas cooking here? And then they just had absolutely no pace in quali or in the race, to be honest. So, yeah, another disappointing weekend for them. They are, honestly, I think they're probably going to finish last in the Constructors. I reckon it could happen. I reckon it could definitely happen. Charles Leclerc, of course, got pole position in the Ferrari. Did not have the race pace at all to back it up, but he managed P3 in the sprint, so that was good. And he was going to be P6, although Ferrari gave him the worst strategy. Like, they should have put him on the strategy that they put Sainz on. But, the car with possibly the worst tyre wear on the entire grid, Ferrari decided, you know what? We're going to do a one-stop. Everybody else is doing a two-stop. We're going to do a one-stop in the worst tyre degradation car, tyre wear car on the grid. Didn't work. No, I mean, did anyone ever see it working? But yeah, for honestly, just for getting that pole position and being as good as he was, and yeah, like I said, it was really just strategy that screwed him over, in my opinion. I'm going to give him an A. I can't go all the way to an S. But yeah, once again, also very unlucky to be disqualified, but ended up being P6 anyway, which P1 to P6 is pretty poor, but I do think it was largely down to the strategy. Magnussen finished where's Magnussen? P14. He's a bit of a way behind Hulkenberg, so I'm actually going to go for a D for Magnussen, just because, yeah, he's a good, 3 positions behind Hulkenberg. I'm not sure how much time that was on track, because Magnussen got lapped. Hulkenberg didn't quite get lapped, so I'm gonna drop Magnussen down to a D, just because I think he could have done much better. Lando Norris, another driver who really couldn't have done anything more. Started on the front row with Leclerc, got a better start than Leclerc, took the lead, led for quite a few laps, then got overtaken by Verstappen, and then also overtaken by Hamilton as well, but ended up finishing P2 because of Hamilton's DNF. And I think it was a pretty damn good weekend for Norris. I'm going to go for an S. Very good weekend, still making the most of that package and doing a lot better than Oscar this weekend. Esteban Ocon did not finish, had a mechanical problem. I think he was running okay up until that point. I'm going to give him a B. Like I said, I can't remember. I think Ocon and Gasly were pretty much on top of each other on track at the time. But yeah, I just feel I can't really give him an A. So I'm going to give him a B. There's not really much else I can say about that one. Trying to get through this one fairly quick here today. Sergio Perez finished P4. It was P5 for Hamilton. It was a better weekend for Perez, but it still wasn't. It still wasn't a good weekend, to be honest. And I'm going to give him a... do I give him a C? How far behind Verstappen was he? 18 seconds behind. No, it's not a mile behind, is it? But I'm going to give him a B. Yeah, he needs to do more, but it was a better weekend for Perez. But he still hasn't gotten back on the podium again. That's ridiculous to think that he's barely been on the podium this season, apart from the first half of the season. So, really needs to step it up. Mexico, can he bring it back in Mexico? I don't think so. But We'll see. Piastri, a bit of a weekend to forget for Piastri. Didn't quite have the pace all weekend in the sprint. He didn't compared to Norris in the race. He didn't, and he got had contact through turn one. I do put that contact more on Ocon. I guess that's another reason why I've put Ocon to a B, because I think that damage at the start, Ocon was, well, Piastri was trying to go around the outside, but Ocon did kind of just, drift into him a little bit. I think it was more of a racing incident, but I'd put the blame slightly more on Ocon. So Piastri was a bit unfortunate there, and then just had quite a bit of damage and just didn't quite have the pace. I'm just going to go for a C for Piastri this weekend. I think it was one of his weaker weekends, especially after Qatar, last time out, winning the sprint and everything and having a good race. Not quite the same sort of high this weekend, but yeah, still not terrible, but not great this time from Oscar Piastri. Daniel Ricciardo, of course, returning this weekend with, it's last weekend now that I'm recording this, returned in Austin, USA, and it was an okay weekend. He definitely didn't have the pace of Tsunoda this weekend, and yeah, ended up finishing last of the runners. I'm just going to go for a C because I think it was a bit underwhelming from Ricciardo, but yeah, it was his first weekend back after the broken hand, so got to give him a little bit of leeway, but was a decent chunk off Tsunoda, especially when Tsunoda was right up there scoring points. George Russell, yeah, not the best weekend from Russell, I'm going to be honest. He was a little bit off the pace compared to Hamilton this weekend, just not quite there. I'm going to give him a B. I don't think it was terrible, but definitely not quite the pace of his teammate this weekend. Carlos Sainz also didn't quite have the pace of Leclerc this weekend, but did get, he got the better strategy and actually ended up finishing on the podium in the end. So a good result in the end from Sainz. So I think I've got to give him an A for that, for pushing through, but he did have the preferential strategy of the two Ferraris, which is ridiculous considering he was, he started, P4, P5, whereas Leclerc started P1, and he got the better strategy. Just Ferrari things. Logan Sargent now scored his first point in Formula 1 due to a lot of luck. Let's remember, he wouldn't have scored that point if, pretty much anyone retired. If Leclerc and Hamilton, or if even just one of them hadn't DSQ'd, he wouldn't have scored the point. You would have assumed that Piastri, Alonso, and Ocon would have all probably finished ahead of him as well, so it still wouldn't have been that great. But all in all, he scored his first points in Formula 1. I'm going to give him a B. I can't really give him more than that because it was very fortunate, but at least he was there to be on top of it. And he only finished like a second behind Albon and genuinely had pretty good pace this weekend. Maybe I could go an A just because of how close he was to Albon compared to where he has been. You know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to give Sargent an A because he's had some pretty low grades, some pretty mediocre grades so far this season. I'm going to give him an A. He was close to his teammate all weekend and finally scored his first point. Good on you, Logan. Can he get any more points before the end of the season? I'm not quite sure, but we'll have to wait and see. Lance Stroll, another terrible qualifying for Stroll, but he did bring it back in the race, and to be fair, the Aston just didn't seem good in qualifying at all, and he brought that new floor, which, was it worse or not? Alonso was doing better with the old floor, and Stroll, was behind him, although did still score points with the new floor, so I don't think it was terrible. Ended up where did he finish? P7 in the end. I don't know really. Where do I go? Do I give him an A? I think I'm going to, because it's a pretty good recovery, to be honest. I'm going to give Stroll an A, considering that, Hamilton also went out in Q1. The fact that Stroll has scored points, I think I've got to give him an A for that. So, yeah, that's what that is. Yuki Tsunoda finished P8. What another cracker weekend for Tsunoda, fastest lap as well. The fact that he had the gap on Albon to go for the fastest lap, I think's amazing in that AlphaTauri. I'm going to give Tsunoda an S. I think it was one of Tsunoda's best weekends. A P8 finish with the fastest lap, that has doubled AlphaTauri's points, and now I think only puts them 2 points behind Haas in the Constructors' Championship for 9th place. Yeah, that's big for AlphaTauri, so let's see if they can build on that. in the next few races, in the last few races. Max Verstappen, of course, finished P1. It did not have a good qualifying, run track limits. I think because of that, because it was a lot closer this weekend, I'm going to give him an A. It's not quite an S. I'm being more strict on Verstappen lately because he was getting a lot of S's earlier on. So yeah, 6th in qualifying, lap times deleted, the sort of thing that happened to Checo a few times this year, but not quite to the extent of that. But yeah, he made it through in the race and won, so I've got to give him an A. But yeah, wasn't quite the easy plain sailing weekend for Verstappen, especially with the seemingly brake issues he was having as well. Yeah, not the best, but he did bring home the win. And then finally, Zhou Guanyu finished in P13. I'm just going to put him there with Bottas again in C category. Didn't see a lot of Alfa Romeos in the race, so there's not really much more I can say, but they're just the good old mid-C tier as usual. But anyway, that is it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.